Big news is coming from the world of Formula One racing. Christian Horner might be living his last days as the boss of the Red Bull racing team. But with the team going through a tough time right now and the new racing rules not helping Red Bull at all, could they find a good replacement in Oliver Oakes? And if not, who else is on their list to replace this British guy? There's no doubt that Red Bull has been through a lot of problems in the past few years, especially last year when the team lost a lot of respect because of an investigation that happened against Horner. But on the other hand, he's the guy who's been there from the very beginning. So getting rid of him and starting fresh doesn't seem like an easy thing to do. Even though reports say that Red Bull is ready to do exactly that, many big news companies are now saying that Horner is about to get fired by Red Bull as soon as after the Emilia race, which is happening this upcoming week. The fact that Piastri and Norris are winning the championship and Verstappen probably won't be able to fight for the 2025 title, even though the team wasted tons of money from their 2026 budget, really upset the Red Bull team. They told Horner he had to get results, which was like giving him one last chance when they decided to keep him as team boss and gave him more power after the investigation ended. And it's easy to see that the team boss gave them everything except good results. When Newey, Conan and Wheatley left the team, it hurt them really badly because we can now see that nothing seems to be working the way it should. Verstappen has been saying over and over that the car improvements just aren't good enough and the gap to McLaren is too big to close with just a few updates. Either way, the current technical boss Pierwatch, who Horner really trusts, might find himself in trouble too. But since everything is Christian's responsibility, he would have to convince the Red Bull leaders that there is still a bright future for them. Besides the British news people who reported this story, there is also a report from the German news site 024, and whenever a German news site reports something about Red Bull, we can't help but think about Helmut Marko. This experienced Austrian guy often talks to his home country's news outlets, or nearby ones, sharing his thoughts on how the team is doing. So now all of a sudden we have a German report about Horner's future being uncertain. Whether or not these reports will actually happen, only time will tell. But there are two people who are ready to take over Horner's job. The first one is the former boss of Alpine team and the guy we already talked about, Oliver Oakes. Even though Alpine said the relationship between them and Oakes is still good and Oliver will keep doing his job with the French team, it's very unlikely he would say no to such a great offer from Red Bull, of course. The scandal around him and his brother is something that needs to be looked at carefully if you want to hire Oakes, because the last thing you want is to replace one controversial team boss with another one. The other person they're thinking about is Franz Tost. He's the former team boss of AlphaTauri and has tons of experience in this sport and more importantly has been around the Red Bull team long enough to know what it takes to continue where Red Bull left off in 2023. After being the chief of the Italian team from 2020 to 2023, he could be ready to take over his former co-worker's job. Because in this tough sport of Formula One, nothing is for sure, but we need to tell the whole story and mention how Red Bull said they're not threatening Horner's future at all. Of course, all of this could just be the Red Bull team trying to protect whatever good reputation they have left in the sport. But after all, having 20 years of experience with one team and being there from day one has its own good points. The only problem that Horner might find really hard to fix is the problem with the car not being fast enough. The improvements aren't working and the team has supposedly spent a big chunk of their 2026 money to try to keep 2025 competitive and keep Max happy. This is a huge risk because if it's true, then they're going to mess up 2 seasons at the same time, with 2026 already being said to favor teams like Mercedes and Ferrari because they're really good at building powerful engines. But it's not just Red Bull's poor performance that makes people question Horner's leadership. There are definitely a lot of unfinished arguments between him and Marko. And when the car problems showed up, we saw that they were ready to hide these fights and focus on what matters most. Now that winning is no longer happening, and it seems like we're about to see much bigger drama around Christian Horner, the former F1 racing engineer Jolyon Palmer talked about this to the Mirror newspaper, saying that Horner losing his job might not surprise many people because it's what you'd expect after what Red Bull has been through. Also, Jolyon said anything is possible. He's been a team boss longer than anyone else right now, but last year was very hard for him. He was in a very dangerous spot. It wouldn't shock me if Horner left. Formula One moves really fast and lots of things can happen very quickly. We'll just have to wait and see. What's also very interesting is when this news came out, Christian Horner and Red Bull are about to celebrate their 400th race together in Imola, being together from day one back in 2005. Of course, for Horner to get fired, both owners need to agree, the Austrian side and the Thai-backed side, and reports said that the one with more control, the Thai side, might be losing interest in Horner. This is why he got to keep his job after everything the team went through. But now that a report from Autosprint suggests that Horner might be losing this important support, his job immediately became questionable. So what's Horner's plan to convince everyone that he still has everything under control? The first thing would be focusing on 2025 because this season is basically over. Verstappen is sitting in 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship and there's a very controversial exit clause that needs to be talked about sooner rather than later, according to Helmut Marko. The summer break is going to be super important for the team because if Verstappen isn't in the top 3 by the time the long break starts, the team might have more trouble keeping him around. We've already seen that other teams, including Mercedes and Aston Martin, want him, so the only thing they need to worry about is how to make the car faster while spending less money from 2026's budget. Obviously, the truth will come out in Barcelona, because this is the race where Red Bull hopes McLaren won't be as dominant because of the front-wing crackdown by the FIA since it appeared in 2024. This topic has caused lots of arguments, and the racing organization decided to let teams get used to it before they ban it completely starting from Barcelona. According to Horner, though, even though the rules should slow down McLaren a little bit and let the rest of the teams catch up, the rest of 2025 is going to be very hard to predict, something that could affect his position at Red Bull too. Talking more about this, he said, "For sure, it's going to have an effect. How much it affects your competitors versus your own team is hard to predict, but for sure, it's a big change. It's not just a small tweak. It will affect all of the cars. It's just by how much. It's a 24-race championship. There's a long, long way to go. McLaren is looking really impressive right now. As we leave Miami, things can change, but we need to start making progress and getting points in the next few races." Even Horner knows that there isn't one single discovery, or as he called it, a eureka moment when it comes to beating McLaren, especially since they have two very strong drivers at the front. This wasn't the case when Red Bull was winning everything, as Perez fought really hard to stay in second place in 2023, but in 2022 and 2024, it was another competitor taking over that spot and not the second driver from Red Bull. Either way, Red Bull has a very tough job ahead of them, and whether we like it or not, Horner's position is definitely in danger because of all the stuff that happened before and all the trouble that's waiting for Red Bull, as well as the start of a new era. With all of this in mind, what do you think about Horner possibly leaving Red Bull? And more importantly, do you think the team would finally start going in a positive direction after everything that's happened in the past few months? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's showing up on your screen right now.